Hey, welcome back, everybody. Special day. I obviously have, years and years of recruiting. I think it's my first passion for, for good or bad. And when I saw someone on LinkedIn and started reading their stuff, I had to invite them. So really, really excited. Shaun Hervey, 10 plus years experience in recruiting. He's a Long Island guy, so hopefully he likes me being from Philly. But really ready to dive in all things recruiting with them and probably a little branding too. So, Shaun, how are you today, man?
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me on. And listen, when it comes to the whole Philly Long Island thing, as long as you're not rooting against the Jets, I don't care where you're from. As long
I
as you're
love
not
it.
in Yeah, as long as you're not in New England, Miami, or Buffalo, I don't care.
That's fair. That's fair. The AFC, that's fair. The AFC East of the world. I do look. I mean, I'm not even going to bring up. I mean, here's a small prayer out to Rogers Achilles, right? And we're all going to just watch and like literally, I'll just DM you if anything happens. All right, just to make sure you're
Yeah.
good. Okay, so.
Yeah. The whole thing, honestly, last like when that happened, it was ridiculous. Like I don't know, I had a strange just kind of feeling watching all that stuff. It was September 11th, right? It was, the stadium goes black. They make him out to be like some sort of hero, like parading him out with the flag and all of that fun stuff. And I remember looking to my dad and being like, this guy better throw for 500 yards tonight. And as soon as he went down, the first thing that went into my mind, I don't know why it went this way. It was like we were smiting the football gods in the
Sure.
face. It was like looking at the Titanic and saying, like, that ship will not sink. Same thing.
Right. I mean, I turned it on, literally turned it on. I was like, I got to see this. And he's on the ground, and then he's just not moving. He's not trying to get up, right? People are helping him off. This is a guy of, a decade plus of playing. And I'm like, that's not good, man. I was like, that's not good at
No,
all. And
no, you
that's
you
it.
knew from
So,
the second that he didn't even try
right. He didn't try to get
to
up.
get up.
I was like, oh man. I literally texted my Jets buddy to make sure he was okay. So I'll make sure to have you on speed dial, man. But I'm rooting for you. I am. I'm rooting for you. All right, so let's
I
dive in.
appreciate
Look,
it,
man.
man.
So 10 plus years recruiting. It's a wild world, right? That and you did internal recruiting and now you're into your own thing right there with Arkham Talent. I mean, let's just go to this. When you take a look at and you start working with companies, right? And I heard this a lot of, hey Dave, I can do this myself. And you were internal, right? Hey Dave, we have an internal team, or hey Dave, I can use my network and find the right people. There's a lot of people listening who could probably use the help of a recruiter and probably don't know it, right? So, like, what would you say to them? Like, what's the positive of what you bring from your expertise to a client in terms of recruiting?
I think there's a couple of things. I think it's speed to market, I think is number one, right? A lot of agencies utilize or they have people that they've worked with for specific sectors, right? Like you have to be niche down, right? So if it's a client that's in my world, which is normally like health tech, digital healthcare, that sort of umbrella, I'll have people lined up for, enterprise sales roles or product marketing roles, product roles, all that sort of stuff, right? But I think that's kind of like the bigger or the biggest value within that space is just having people that you know in that network kind of lined up and ready to go, right? Because there's a number of other things also that you can kind of tap into is just utilizing an agency or an outside partner is number one, right? Especially on the sales side, as right? There's a lot of people that pretty early on after like 3 to 6 months, if they're not going to make it, you have to start building a bench. And your internal HR team, they're not going to do anything until that person's out the door. That's just how it goes, right? So if you're having conversations with people like, listen, Doug is not going to make it. Like he's a great guy. We love him, right? Locker room guy, but he's just not bringing in anything. That's when you have a value to the outside. Be like, hey, listen, I know he's on the PIP and all that fun stuff. Like, here's someone that we know really closely. We can kind of talk to them about your company and just utilizing it that way. I think that's a two of the big values that they utilize with I guess using a staffing company or using someone like us.
So let me play devil's advocate. And we all hear, and as recruiters or external recruiters, we know, this objection here, but that's what a lot of people are going to say and say, hey, look, you're charging, I don't know, anywhere from 15 to 25, maybe a flat fee. Let's call it 20K, right? I'm a startup, I'm a
Yeah,
new company, I'm watching my budget, my CFO's on my ass, right? And now I have, I could do this myself and probably find somebody good, and I'm staring at you for 20, 25K in the face.
yeah.
Where is that, piece,
That
right?
rank.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of the time, it's like I feel like when trying to go over this objection is really a lot of people just kind of try to do it with the typical sort of sales tactics and the maneuvers and kind of going over like, well, tell me about the last person to see, did they come from this industry? We have relationships, all that typical stuff. But sometimes it's like it's honestly just kind of saying to them like, I get it. I completely understand it. Just kind of digging back a little bit deeper, like tell me where have you found people before? How has that worked out for you? Right? Like if the last person that you maybe hired, maybe they came through an online application, or maybe they came from somebody in your network. Maybe they weren't truly verified. Maybe, the internal recruiting team that you were working with, maybe they weren't experts in digital healthcare. And there was a situation where you were just kind of having to be put in, you were choosing the people that were just getting in front of you via online applications and the internal recruiting team, right? I think there is something to be said about having relationships with some of the largest companies within the space, like Hinge and Sword and Health and all these like ZocDoc, some of these larger companies. Those are the people that you want to bring onto your team that have at least that background. Whether or not they are going to be 100% home run hitters, that's our job to kind of come in and give you our take on them. And that's also why you have you and the majority of your enterprise sales team and even your C-level interview them, right?
Nice. Yeah. Look, I mean, I would always, and when I did recruiting, I didn't do the positions you were doing. I was doing maybe more of the maintenance technicians and the those positions, and I would always get into ROI and hey man, that line goes down. How much is it worth? And we get into the value, right? So I mean, it was a pretty easy one for me, versus a VP of sales or enterprise AE, maybe a little bit different discussion. You've been in recruiting now a long time. You've seen the changes. You've seen how things are progressing. You've seen this state we're in. I know I'm using AI now for prep. People are uploading, financial reports in and immediately doing prep in terms of their reach out and their personalization. How has it changed your world? How is it changing from an aspect of companies using AI to help with the search, or you guys using it externally? How's that working?
A couple of different areas. And I don't think that at the end of the day, like recruiting is going to be one of those industries that's going to be completely destroyed by AI. But if you don't understand how to utilize it, you will be affected by it one way or the other. Right. So the ways that I've used it, honestly, like one of the biggest things I've used, like the Chat GPT and the Claude.ai, Anthropic kind of stuff, really has been, it's kind of stupidly simple, but it's finding out like taking a company's website, if I'm trying to like sell into some of these like digital healthcare companies, and if it has something to do with, I don't know, like neurodiversity, or if it's like, yeah, anything that has to do with like dementia or mental health, whatever the case may be, I utilize that to kind of just explain concepts to me about like how I'm five, like if I'm 5 years old, right? Explain this stuff to me. So I'll be better armed to go and make my case to, a CRO or, a VP of sales, just kind of being able to like utilize different information and having things broken down for me, right, in a way that I'm going to understand it so I could go and improve my pitches. Like that's one thing. And the other thing that I definitely use it for is sometimes sequencing, right? Like just how to write this email for me better, right? Or break this down for me. Come up with a pretty come up with like a conceptualized like email campaign, and then I'll tweak it here and there. But
Hmm.
I don't utilize a ton of different AI. I don't like. I'm pretty much like LinkedIn Recruiter. I'll do Signal Hire is one of the
Hmm.
ones I use for data intelligence, right?
Yep.
And then I'll just pick up the phone and call. Like
Love
I'm
it.
just so much more of like a video call
Yeah.
sort of person, right? Like my emails are just short, right to the point. I don't have a
Well, there's
ton of
something
like,
out there that says under, I want to say it's under 50. I want to say under 50 words, spaced
yes, I've
out,
seen that too.
to read on a phone, question at the end, done. If you hit those three things, literally space it out so I can read it on my phone, give me 50 words or less and tell me what the hell you want. That's pretty much the gig,
That's
right?
it. Like
It,
that is it. And it works. Like
mhm.
it works 100 times more than any other email or any other sort
Yep.
of way that I've done it before. Like introducing myself, like, hi, I'm Shaun, the founder of Beckham Talent. Like, this is what we do. No one gives a shit. Like, no
No
one
one gives
fucking
no
cares.
one gives a
It's just,
damn
what's
about
your
that.
problem? How could I fix it? And this is why you need me, or what is why you need us. And,
Yep.
I
And
get
do you want to
responses
talk
all
or
the
is
time.
it worth your time or and that's it. Yeah,
That's
100%.
it.
So,
That's it.
you started your business, I guess we're going on 2 years now, right? Yet,
Hmm.
when did you start the heavy LinkedIn? Because you gotta, I mean, I seen you kind of, you've done some funny ass videos on the folks who are at a high level and they're not influencer gurus. Look, you got a great following. I can see your network. You have some funny stuff. When did you start this? Like, when did this come to be? Because I think you're gonna downplay it. I can already tell, but you got a really good, thing going here in terms of your reach. So when did this start?
Yeah. 2016. I a while ago. And funny enough, like how it happened was I accidentally like I had one too many Jack and Cokes in the city one night, and I was on my LinkedIn app, but like I thought that I was on
Don't drink and
Facebook.
LinkedIn at the same time, dude. Is this where we're going?
Yeah, this is where we're going. Like,
Love
yeah.
it.
At the time, I belonged to like just a Facebook group of internal recruiters, right? And I just dealt with the situation where whatever it was, I think it was somebody reached out to me, and then I forgot exactly what the semantics were. But long story short, I was bitching about it in the group, or I thought. So I get home from the train station, I fall asleep. I had a couple of Jack and Cokes in me at the time. I wake up and realize that I posted it on LinkedIn, and I had thousands of comments, like just people going at me and just kind of, yeah, just I forgot what it was. Yeah, I forgot what it was, but it was just an accident, a happy accident. And I was like, okay, well, how far can I push this thing? And then that kind of, you know, snowballed and snowballed and snowballed. And I basically just kind of had the ideology of like, I'm going to say the things that most people won't, right? And it was like a big risk. But at the end of the day, right, people kind of followed along because they wanted to see what I would say next, and also because I understand recruiting and I would kind of utilize that to, I guess, make points that other people just wouldn't.
It's when as I get to know you, right? And we've talked today for the first time, but as I looked at your LinkedIn and I say get to know you, 'cause I think I can start putting pieces together of like little comments.
Yeah,
Music, being on stage, huge thing for you. You were a
my
stand-up
life. Yeah,
comic as well? Is that correct? Did I read that?
yeah.
So all of a sudden now I have someone who's good on stage, who has a presence, who has a comedy bone in them, right? Has that DNA that, that I'll never have, right? And now you combine that. Did you realize at some point, like, hey, I can take my I can take what I used to do on stage in terms of performing and doing this and translate it to the business world.
Yeah. And honestly, it's one of those things that I still try to figure out, right? Because I think you could, when you're doing it in the business world, there's a couple of different ways to go about it, or there's a couple of different sort of reactions that I prepare myself mentally to have from other people, right? There have been people who have been like, this is awesome. Like, I love your stuff. This is so funny. This is really good. I think you shouldn't even be in recruiting. I think you should do marketing. I think you
Yep.
should do something else,
Yep.
right? And I've had recruiters kind of say, yeah, really cool, but like, is it getting you clients? Is it doing this? Like, is it really moving the needle for you? And I've straight up had CEOs and CROs that I've worked with been like, dude, what the fuck are you doing on LinkedIn? Like, what's this video? The dramatic, you're in your garage pretending to be you're smoking a cigar or whatnot. It's a mixed audience, right? But at the end of the day, for me, I can't sit here and just talk about recruiting and talk about the ATS. I can't just sit in front of a camera and be, well, what you should really do in your resume. I can't fucking do it, man. It's just not me. It's boring. There's a million other people that are doing it that way. And it's also just like, I don't want to contribute and be another voice to contradicting opinions already, right? Because there's so many people that are giving advice for job seekers, and some of it's bullshit, some of it's good, some of it's all subjective, and I just don't think people need another voice when it comes to that stuff. So that's why I just kind of keep everything kind of cool, like, just kind of fun and just light, really.
It, there's so much out there that's heavy. This is my opinion, excuse me. But now I find somebody who's real, and I'm like, okay, am I going to do business with somebody who I maybe I don't even know them? Maybe they're not there, right? Or they're there and they're stiff. Or for me, at least I know you're real. I may not agree with everything. I may not agree, but I know you're real, right?
Yeah,
I know who the hell you are, you know?
right.
And for this, does it move the needle? You'll never know. Let's just stop there. You'll never know, right? And the answer is yes, because your reach and they know you, and it could be a candidate. I mean, when I came from recruiting, I would have a few folks who would just like, they had a bad day or something. I said, dude, you have no idea, right? I worked for 5 months on a client. I got for me, I had like a 120K job. It was like director of engineering. It was prime time, Fortune 1000 company. I'm in. I get that first placement. You know how it goes. You get the first placement. All of a sudden, this thing starts rolling. And I got a phone call. Hey, Dave, I have the offer. This is awesome, but I'm not going to take it. Okay, great. Let's talk about it. Like, why? This, maybe there's something I can help with. Yeah, me and the girlfriend. And I said, all right, time out. Like, we're talking about a job that's about an hour away, right? 120, Fortune 1000, doubles your base, gets everything you wanted from me. And you're telling me all of a sudden now it's on a relationship that's 2 months old.
Yep.
Yes. Lost my mind, right? Didn't take it. And I laugh because now I'm in a role like where it's like, hey man, sign my contract. My software doesn't, say no, right? I'm good, right? But
Right.
recruiting has a two sides of the equation.
There's three. There's three sales and recruiting, and that's what people don't really understand. And
All
sorry to
right, so
cut you
help me
off,
with
right?
this.
Because I
I mean,
go in
help me
this.
with this. I'm 10 years in. I thought I had two, but go
No,
ahead. Where's
it's
three?
all the time. It's you have to sell yourself to the client to give you the opportunity,
I got
right?
one.
Then you have to sell the candidate, right,
I got
on
two.
the job. And at that point, you have to be able to like you have to close the candidate. So it's like
Okay.
it's kind of yeah, just
I got you. You
who's
had the
getting the
candidate
business
and you had the
and then
candidate in two parts. I got you. 100%.
yeah,
And look, I I tell folks all the time, man, like it's I've been to enough organizations and I've seen organizations and I recruited for anywhere from a Fortune 50 to a mom and pop. And I'm a firm believer that you can have the processes in place and some cool marketing stuff in your product, but if you don't have the right people, it's over. right? And it'll never work. And I don't care if it's engineering or sales or product or I don't care what it is. If you don't have A players, you'll never be an A company. You just won't, right? You have to have good talent on the team. That's why I loved recruiting, is because I could, bring that in. I'm sure it's the same for you. So
Yeah.
kind of take this uh next step. And I saw you post a lot on mental health. I saw you post on like your physical aspect in terms of going all in on the company, but hey, there's a all in on you, right? Have you been able to find that balance?
As much as I would like to say yes, it's still kind of hard. Um, because I'm very, very addicted to making this work and putting in the hours. And as much as I sit here and preach and talk, and I made that video last week, and this is me being super vulnerable that way and being open, so it's like hard. Um, I make a goal of working out and doing that stuff in the morning at least 3 times, 3 to 4 times a week. And I've been good. I've been hitting like two and then one on the weekends, or last couple of weeks I've been three, but I haven't done like the 4 days on the weekend or 4 days during the week. That's like my major goal. Um, and you also have uh, the kids. I gotta drop them off at school, and I'm morning shift, so I'm up with them like super, super early. And I know it's like not an excuse, but like, and all the influencers would tell me to go to the gym at 4 a.m. It's like, yeah, okay, I'm going to go to the 4 a.m. where they don't sleep through the night. Every single night, it's like someone's having a nightmare, who's peeing the bed, who's doing this. So it's been, it's been interesting, but yeah, I guess to wrap it up, I have gotten a lot better because over the past year, I completely just trying to learn the business, trying to learn everything possible. As soon as I drop them off, I'm back up in my chair in my office and trying to make shit work. But yeah, a couple of weeks ago, I just kind of realized like stepped on the scale. It's like, holy shit, that's horrible. And then B, it's like, listen, they're ignoring me now. They're gonna ignore me at 10 o'clock. So what the fuck am I doing now?
Yeah,
So
100%,
yeah, I
man.
mean, I've definitely gotten better, but I'm not where
It's
I need to be.
look, I've posted about this is I think I posted something like, hey man, I want to get back to doing like 10 pull-ups or something like that, right? Like actually get like at one point of time I was like actually in shape way, way back, like a lot of gray hairs ago. And then I'm like you, like I blinked, hop on a scale, and I was like, well, fuck that, right? And then I try and work out. I'm like, holy shit. I was like, what the hell just happened? Right? I'm like, hey, wait,
Horrible.
I used to ref like 3 soccer games and keep up with like the 14-year-olds running around, and I'd be good. Dude, I'd die right now if I tried to do that. Literally. Like I'd be unconscious. And
Yeah.
I'm still working. I'm like you. I'm a work in progress. And I actually I'm I hear it out there, but I really believe it now. Is that like your attention goes where your money goes. And I actually invested in like a personal trainer. I'm like, okay, I go to him twice a week. It's like mandatory. I can't let him down, right? I have someone now that's,
Good.
like I have to get to, and if I can do it twice a week on my own, well, then I'm down to twice a week on my own, right? Instead of 4. It's kind of how I think about it. But I'm with you, man. You know, and I saw you post. You had a post about your dad playing with you out there, and he said, I guess he said I had a job and my career was my kids. Am I getting that
Yeah.
close, right? Like it was so good. Like it gave me chills reading it. I was like, oh, that's so good.
Yeah, it was when we found out that we were pregnant, and it's when my first son was like, we literally just found out like maybe a couple of weeks before. And I saw him, we went over, we told them and all that stuff, and we were just having like a celebratory cigar just out in the backyard. And I just asked him, like, it was the first thing I said, so how do you handle all of it, like your the career or the friends, the all everything. And I said, I'm going to stop you right there. Okay. It's like, I don't have a career. What are you talking about? You worked for 30 years at one of the biggest companies here. You've been very successful and won a lot of awards, being a network engineer and all that really cool stuff that you did. He's like, yeah. He's like, it's my job. You, your sister, your brother, you guys were my career. You still are. It's like I give up everything for you guys, and I couldn't let you grow up like assholes. Like that's my dad. Like he has to like have like a spark of like, holy shit, like did he just say something like philosophical, or was this something that was like, wow, I've never seen this side of him, and then he has in his way that only my dad would do, just kind of be like, yeah, drop the asshole bomb or insult me and somehow, but
That's, I mean, that's so
that's
good,
it.
right? I mean, because I think we're all trying to figure it out. No one has this
Yeah,
shit figured out.
no
And
one.
and look, 20 years ago, I mean, I laugh when I talk to my mom, and the kids. And my brother and I talk. He's Ian, younger brother, but um, like it's just different, right? Like I gave my kid a phone at, some people are gonna hate this. I gave my kid a phone at age, I think she was or he was like 7 because they were at the bus stop, and I said, man,
Yeah,
if something happens, I want them to be able to text me. Now, does that open
right.
up a different world? Yes, it does. Like I get it, right? But that's the world we live in, right? Like, hey, like, and there's different schools of thought, but it's like it is so hard in this world. You're running your own company, you're at home, you're trying to deal with 2 kids, you have recruiting who's crazy in a world that we're all
Yeah.
connected. Oh, by the way, you got to keep your health going. It's not 8 to 5 of like 1940 when we were like literally everybody was off work, right? Like it's just not, right?
It
It's
is
just harder.
not. It is not like, and there are some days where I think about calling a buddy of mine who's been in the town for a very long time, where I'm just like, dude, put me on the list for sanitation. I'll do my 20 years. I'll be 58 and I'll retire. And
Yep,
I'll just go into the sunset. I don't need to be busting my
yep,
chops here to bill over whatever it is and stressing and blowing up like a fucking balloon like over this stuff, and just some days I just don't need it. But then it's like every time that you have, it sucks you back in every
yep,
time that you have that like little win, or even if it's something as stupid as I got an email a couple of weeks ago from someone that I don't know. I never met them ever. And they just wrote something to me about like, hey, I wish that I had the balls to do what you do. I love like all the material that you put out with Arkham, and I'm rooting for you. I think it's really cool just seeing the stuff that I put out on LinkedIn, right? And TikTok
yep,
and all that stuff. And
yeah,
it could be something as simple as that.
you
And
know. I have
when
that.
the
I'm right
yeah,
there with you. I had someone hit me up who I have no connection, like we're first connection, like whatever, right? But we never talked. There was never a DM. I think they viewed my profile once, and of course I'm like, yeah, sure, connect, right? And then
yeah,
literally like years later, I looked at it for how long we've been connected. Years later, I get this DM. Hey, I'm now taking the step to post on LinkedIn. I love your content. Thanks for doing that. That's
yeah,
it. Like nothing crazy. And I still remember that. I think I have it somewhere if I saved it. Just I'm like, you know what? I always say for me personally, if I can post something and it helps one person, I'm good. I may get a ton of legs. I may get no. I think one thing I had like no legs on. It was kind of funny. But I was like, you know what? If that's what it is, then good. And if it helps me in like the so-called brand shit, then great. But maybe I want to. I mean, for me, I'm on that downward like at some point in time I'm stopping this, right? And if I can get all this crap out of my head into the world, yeah, take the
yeah.
good piece and get rid of the bad stuff, right? There's 9 posts that are probably like whatever, and maybe one you like, so that's how I look at it, man. But
Yeah, it's weird, and I'm in the school of thought that it's people usually buy from people, right? I mean, you wanna. There's so many people that I guess say the opposite, or that's an outdated term. Sure, because there's more competition now. You obviously have to be able to present your value proposition, your differentiation to the market, and all that fun stuff. But generally, likability still matters, and it does not. It's one of the things that a lot of recruiters or internal recruiters or people that are just more of, they talk about bias a lot and all that fun stuff. But at the end of the day, like, no one's ever gotten hired, right, by a hiring manager that thought that this person was a complete dickhead. Like, you have to have some level of likability, right?
Hmm?
So the more you're going to put yourself out there and the more that you could be relatable to people, the more that you could, sure, show your expertise to the world and be a person that knows what they're doing in this arena. Do you need to be a thought leader to the point where the only thing that you're talking about is enterprise sales and AI? Not really.
No, it's boring as
You
shit.
don't.
I mean, it just is. I'm sorry. I mean, it
No,
is. You
right?
know,
Like, the one thing, there's this guy, Mike Williams, that I'm pretty cool with. He's a recruiter, and he's super niched down, and he really talks a lot about his sector, but he also does a lot of like personal stuff, like wife, kid, baby stuff, right? So he has a really good mix of, your professional worlds colliding, and the personal world, which I think is really, really good. I mean, me personally, I think I should be doing a little bit more business related content. But like I said, recruiting it's my job. I do it every morning, every day. I don't want to make videos about it. If I want to do something that is going to be fun for me, I want to do something that I want to do. I like
I
comedy. I like
I
all this
never
different stuff.
realized. I mean, just looking at your videos now, I love from I don't know my analytical brain loves going back now and analyzing. Okay, his music background is why there's a musical undertone in all his videos, right?
Everything.
I,
Music
and
makes everything.
and I'm like, God, that's so good. Now I begin to see it, right? So, well, look, I want to wrap this up, and here's why. Because for people who don't know, and you'll never say it, your AC broke yesterday, and you're sitting in a house with two kids with the AC broke. You literally hit me up an hour ago and said, Dave, my AC broke. I was like, damn, dude. I was like, that sucks. By the way, it's like
Yeah,
90,000 degrees on the East Coast here in
it
June. It should
sucks. It
not
is
be this
bad.
hot. Like what the fuck is August going to be like? But I look, thank you for doing this, right? Like I was
Anytime.
like, dude, so good. But I can't let you go without two things. One,
Yeah.
if you had to perform with a band, like any, past history, I'll give you the Rush or the Green Day or the Creeds or the Chili Peppers. Like, who you performing with, man? Who's your like, hey man, have me on stage and
This
I'll
is such a loaded question.
right, that's what I do.
If I could go back, God, I don't even know what. Elton John.
Elton John. Really? I didn't see that
I
coming.
love Elton John from a musical standpoint. I grew up on his music. Elton John, Billy Joel.
That's where I thought
Um,
I could see like the piano man, like the Billy Joel, like the old school
yeah,
Billy Joel come in, right?
yeah. Those two, those sort of just shaped who I am musically, right? For
Wow.
me, music is very. It depends on my mood. Sometimes I'm very much in the mindset of like I want to listen to a very complicated piece of music where you have very different sort of intricacies and things going on there. And then there's some days where just, hey, give me three-chord Green Day, you know? So if I guess from that standpoint, it'd be Elton John and Billy Joel. And if it was a band today, would I want to play with? I'm on a huge Shinedown kick. And I know that they're from like the early 2000s, but like
Yep.
their new stuff is great. They're a band that talks about mental health. They've
Mhm.
always talked about mental health, and some of just like the messaging in the songs today, my
Yeah.
kids listen to it. Like I literally sit down and play like Shinedown music with my kids, and they know the words to every single song. And there's a couple of songs. There's one called "A Symptom of Being Human" and "Dysfunctional You" that are just so relatable to me and who I am and my son and kind of some of the things that he's gone through in life. And yeah, I'm able to kind of hit a lot of the notes that he hits. So I would definitely love to play with those guys.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, look, man,
Yeah,
I always, this is the highlight of my week because I get to sit with people that I relatively didn't know until this. I get to
yeah,
hear your story. I get to hopefully relate. I get to ask the fun questions. And you know what, man? Like I want to stay connected. I'm rooting for you in terms of
likewise.
in terms of the company. And, there's no doubt from what you said, from how you described it, from your creative gene that you have in there that not all of us have, but we try and water that, seed in us, that horrible analogy as my daughter calls me on the phone. Um, well, thank you, man. I appreciate you. Get the AC
You're welcome.
fixed, right? There's got to be a post about that somewhere that's going to be common, or just say fuck it and
There
just get
will
it
be.
fixed.
I will. I will. I'll definitely try to finagle that
You
into.
got to finagle at it. I mean, that's a classic LinkedIn. Hey, my AC is broken, but you know what? Let me give you life advice or something. Like
Oh,
there's,
100%. Yeah,
I mean,
13 things I've yeah, 13 things I've learned from having a AC go
while
bad.
you're driving, like maybe like video or something, have the wife shoot it, right? I mean, like easy,
Totally.
easy.
Yeah, I'll figure out some sort of angle and post it eventually.
All
But
right.
this has
Well,
been
look,
awesome,
Shaun,
man. I
thank you,
appreciate
man.
you.
No, no, thank you. All right, for everybody else, appreciate you guys listening. Went a little bit long, but dude, time flies when you're learning something and having fun with a good dude. So, Shaun, thank you again.
I
Everybody
hear you.
else, we're back, man. Take care. See you guys soon.